Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 449, Pokemon Ranger Deoxys Crisis, Part 2. The episode begins with Ash and Gang and Team Rocket, minus Max and Meowth, having returned to the Pokemon Center, and Solana was there too. Nurse Joy had joined them as well, wondering how everything went, so Solana, Team Rocket, and Ash and Gang explained. Team Rocket were distraught that they were separated from Meowth, and knowing that Ash and the Gang were usually lucky, they got on their knees and begged Ash and the Gang to help them get Meowth back. After Wobbuffet and Mime Jr. begged as well, Solana and Ash and the Gang decided to help out Team Rocket so they could get back Max too, agreeing to a truce. Team Rocket were excited by this, and they all went out of the Pokemon Center to go find Meowth and Max, although Ash and the Gang didn't follow, and Nurse Joy asked Team Rocket where the fuck they were going, reminding them that they didn't know where to find Meowth and Max, making Team Rocket sad, and they cried, realizing that this was true. Solana stops Team Rocket from crying though, when she assures them that they would find both Meowth and Max. They just had to go out and search. So they all left the Pokemon Center, with Nurse Joy accompanying them too. Seeing the shining sun reminded Solana of something she did in between episodes. She had sent a message to her Pokemon Ranger base and was eagerly awaiting a reply. Specifically, she asked the Ranger base about Solar Wind, and right as she told Ash and the Gang and Nurse Joy this, and Team Rocket this, she got a response from Ranger base on her device. Ash and the Gang were confused as to what Solar Wind was, so Solana simply explained that Solar Wind was the sun's wind, which was in turn the warmth and light that the Earth received, because they essentially received wind waves from the sun in the form of warmth and light. Anyways, as for what Solana's question regarding Solar Wind actually was, she wondered if Solar Wind had anything to do with the geomagnetic disturbances that had been occurring thanks to what she thought was Deoxys. And she thought this because Deoxys came from a meteor in space that could have came in contact with the sun or some shit. And basically, the people at Ranger Base explained to her through a message on her device that every 10 years, sunspots, which were the dark spots on the sun, would intensify and increase the energy they gave off before decreasing their energy after a span of 10 years. But they didn't have to worry about it decreasing right now. They were worried about the energy increasing. And Solana showed a wave graph that detailed the status of the energy the sun was giving off. And right now, basically, it was at a very intense high point. So Solana thought that this energy coming from the sun at such high rates was what was causing the geomagnetic disturbance. And she also showed a regular graph in comparison to the current one that showed that, yeah, the energy levels were a lot fucking higher. Even Jesse and James, along with the rest of the gang, were able to see this from the graph. Next, Solana pinpointed a location on her device using a map the device had, and came to the conclusion that the cave that Ash and the Gang were in last episode was somehow the source of all this solar energy. So it may not even have been coming from the sun somehow, much to Ash and the Gang's shock, but it was coming from somewhere inside the cave. And Solana suggested that maybe it was energy coming from Deoxys being inside the cave, even though Deoxys was currently in another dimension, where Max and Meowth just woke up seeing Deoxys as it appeared in front of them. Meowth and Max looked around the dimension, noticing that it was weird as fuck. Like, it was almost like a chemistry dimension. That's how I'd explain it. There's like little symbols everywhere, stuff like that. Max was definitely startled to be in Deoxys' new dimension, or rather a dimension that was new to Max, but Meowth was especially shocked, since Deoxys had just unpossessed him due to the energy that it took to bring him inside his dimension. And obviously Meowth was surprised, wondering what the fuck happened, since he was blacked out when he was possessed and didn't even recall being possessed. Max demanded to know from Deoxys where the fuck he had taken him and Meowth, so Deoxys once again possesses Meowth, picking him up from Max's arms. Also, Max had him in his arms because he was trying to comfort Meowth, so he wouldn't freak out due to being in this new dimension. Once Deoxys lifts Meowth up, he uses him to communicate in human language to Max. And Deoxys explains that it had decided to take Max and Meowth to his dimension so that they could talk in there as opposed to talking in the cave, because Deoxys hated the cave. Deoxys also added that it came from space, being transported by the meteorite, which Max already knew. Deoxys confirms another thing Max already knew, which was that the meteorite was very cold, but it was also small and soundless. Deoxys got very, very sick of the quietness, and it wanted to hear a voice really, really bad. It eventually did think that it heard a loud voice, but the sound of the voice was interrupted when it got startled when it heard the massive sound of the meteorite impacting as it hit Earth. We then see a flashback of this, while Max was getting extremely emotional seeing the flashback take place, especially when he saw the meteorite crash, creating a huge-ass crater as a result. Deoxys explained that something that made Max even more sad, which was that it realized the sound of the voice that it heard was actually just the sound of the meteorite crashing, which really made it depressed because it thought that maybe it would be able to find a friend on this new planet that it crashed on, but it was all alone when it crashed in the cave. Once the dust and energy and everything like that settled after the impact, Deoxys set off to go find a friend, but no one was in the cave, and it didn't know if it should leave the cave or not, or at least go that far out of it, because it was the only place where it had landed, so it kind of thought that it should stay there for a little while. Max felt really bad for Deoxys at this point, tearing up as he assured Deoxys that he did not have to be alone anymore, and could be friends with every single Pokemon on the planet. Hearing about this, Deoxys was able to bring up a little vision of Pokemon on planet Earth after hearing about it, I guess, or something like that, and Deoxys saw a whole bunch of wild Pokemon, such as an Azurill, a Shroomish, a Nuzleaf, a Seedot, a Zigzagoon, and a Pidgeot as well. Meanwhile, back with Ash and the Gang and Solana, while the sun was shining, Nurse Joy came along with them, along with Team Rocket, obviously, as they went back to the cave, while Solana was guiding them through it with a flashlight. Solana asked Brock what the geomagnetic force was like, with Brock stating that there was no geomagnetic force at all, no disturbance, and this was confirmed as Pikachu and Plusle were completely fine, not showing any reaction to any potential geomagnetic disturbance. James, while still holding his mind Junior, was immensely scared to be back in the cave, so Jessie yelled at James, demanding that he toughen up, which just made James even more scared, and James got even more scared when Jessie started to yell out, calling for Meowth, while May yelled out for Max, but neither Jessie or May got any response, so Ash sent out his Sceptile and Swallow, while Brock sent out his Marshtomp, and May sent out her Combuskin to help them search, as all four of the Pokemon split up and searched the cave individually. Even though searching for Max and Meowth was the top priority, Ash questioned Solana what she thought would happen when they encountered Deoxys again, if they did, leading Solana to say that she figured that she could capture Deoxys using her device if it went into normal mode, and she could then force it to use Recover to ease its pain and heal it up. James, hearing this, whispered to Jessie that maybe they should have Deoxys use Recover on them if they ended up getting hurt in the cave, and this just annoyed Jessie. Suddenly, everyone was startled as they felt the cave shake again, and Brock saw on the scanner that the geomagnetic disturbance had returned, and Pikachu and Plusle were both reacting to it, not feeling good. And so, Ash kneeled down and had Pikachu come off his shoulder and go inside his backpack to rest, while Solana gave Plusle to Nurse Joy, hoping that she could use her nursing skills to keep Plusle calm during all this. And with that, Ash and the gang continued forward with Solana and Team Rocket. Back in Deoxys' dimension, where it had taken Meowth and Max, Deoxys decided to unpossess Meowth since it didn't need Meowth any longer, and it explained everything it needed to. Although doing so caused Deoxys to writhe in immense pain. It was only using more of its power, and that just made it hurt more when it was already injured. Meowth was now unpossessed, but he was just confused, as he didn't even know that he was possessed, and freaked out a little bit. But when he saw Max, he kind of calmed down, and he soon realized that he wasn't really in danger, because he wasn't being attacked. Deoxys then writhed in pain once more, as it opened up a portal back to the real world, having told Max everything it needed to say. Right as the portal opened, right in front of the meteorite, the Pokemon, meaning Combuskin, Marshtomp, Swallow, and Grova, and Sceptile, had reunited, leading Ash and the gang, Solana and Team Rocket, to the meteorite, implying that Max and Meowth could be sensed there. And sure enough, Ash and the gang noticed Max and Meowth in Deoxys' dimension still, as they could see through the portal by the meteorite. Meowth and Max were amazed that Deoxys was letting them go, and they could see everyone again, while everyone else was just amazed to see that Meowth and Max had been transported to Deoxys' other dimension, or some shit. Ash and the gang, Solana, and Team Rocket called out to Meowth and Max, but Meowth and Max didn't come out of the portal. Instead, Deoxys did. Team Rocket were kind of nervous to see Deoxys, fearing that maybe it would keep Meowth kidnapped for all eternity or some shit, not knowing that it didn't actually kidnap Meowth. But Nurse Joy, Solana, and Ash were more concerned with the fact that Plusle and Pikachu didn't feel very good, because Deoxys coming out of the portal had caused a surge of solar wind to show up, therefore increasing the disturbance, upsetting Plusle and Pikachu. Ash tried to tend to Pikachu, while Solana and Nurse Joy tried to tend to Plusle, but they were distracted by the meteorite starting to sparkle with pure energy. And this energy becomes so powerful that when Brock's scanner, well, Solana's scanner that she lent to Brock, picks it up, it only picks it up for a short time and gets destroyed as a result, because the geomagnetic disturbance emanating from the meteorite was so powerful. So this leads Solana to come to the conclusion that the meteorite must have been the source of the sun energy that was causing the disturbance. Likely because the meteorite went past the sun or some shit, I don't know. With the scanner now destroyed, Solana tries to track a bit of it on her device, and even though the device wasn't fully meant to track it, it was able to track enough for her to confirm her theory that the meteorite was responsible for the disturbances. Solana was then interrupted as she noticed the meteorite gathering so much energy that it was about to explode, while Deoxys was above it, so she warned everyone to run away with her, and they all did, but still got caught in the explosion of the meteorite as it was destroyed. Thanks to the pure energy it exhibited, basically had so much energy that it destroyed itself. As a result of the explosion, everyone rounded up outside the cave. And by the time the smoke from the meteorite exploding had cleared, only the Pokemon had woken up, so they had to go wake up all of the trainers, with Sceptile waking up Ash, Combuskin waking up May, and Marshtomp waking up Brock. However, Combuskin also wakes up Jessie by startling her and scratching her, while Marshtomp and Mime Jr. work together to wake up James, dancing in front of him for Mime Jr. and splashing him with water gun for Marshtomp, altogether startling James. As for Swallow, Pikachu, and Plusle, they just watched this whole fucking thing. With all the humans now woken up as well, Solana was the first one to spot a glow from the cave and realized that the sun energy that had come from the sun to begin with mixed with the sun energy that mixed with the meteorite and the energy of the meteorite itself had all mixed together to make a Deoxys. It was essentially created from all those different energies. However, Solana also realized that this energy from all these combined sources, all being concentrated to create Deoxys at once, was causing Deoxys immense pain, and as a result, it had to get away from the pain by entering an alternate dimension, the dimension that Max and Meowth were in currently. Basically, Solana was suggesting that Deoxys may have been able to utilize this energy to create a little pocket dimension for itself, or some shit. I don't know. And it basically was able to go into this dimension to rest while recovering from the pain or something. And we saw a flashback of all this, confirming that Solana was right. As Nurse Joy continued to tend to the tired Plusle, who was still tired due to the disturbances, obviously, she commented that it was ironic that Deoxys' own meteorite that it crashed on was causing it pain. May commented that Deoxys probably wanted to tell them that it was in pain all this time, and Meowth was trying to translate. And that's why it got possessed, so that Deoxys could force it to translate, basically. Basically, they just came to the right conclusion. Just then, though, thunderstorm clouds approach, and Solana realizes that there were static discharge clouds due to the disturbance. Team Rocket freak out seeing the clouds, as Solana explains that the meteorite's energy was lowering the atmospheric pressure and destroying the geomagnetic balance. So basically she was explaining how the meteor was messing with the geomagnetic balance. Deoxys then comes out of the cave going after Ash and the gang and Solana, and it prepares to attack, scaring Team Rocket and Ash and the gang, and they get more nervous when Solana pulls out her device, stating that she was going to capture Deoxys since it was currently in its normal form, but she needed Ash and the gang and Team Rocket's help to make sure that it stayed in its normal form, apparently, because Deoxys then changed to attack form and used a Psycho Boost, heading towards Ash and the gang and all their Pokemon. Ash agrees to help Solana and has a Sceptile fire a Bullet Seed to cut off the Psycho Boost. This wasn't enough to stop the Psycho Boost though, so Combuskin used a Fire Spin and Marshtomp used a Water Gun, but even these attacks failed too, so this forced everyone to jump out of the way to dodge the Psycho Boost attack, and thankfully everyone did dodge it, not getting hurt. However, after this attack missed everyone, simply causing an explosion behind them, Deoxys remained relentless and continued to fire off multiple more Psycho Boosts, attacking everything around, destroying the area. While all these attacks were going on, the remaining pieces of the meteorite were glowing and seemingly getting ready to emit even more energy, even though the fucking meteorite exploded. And Nurse Joy was trying her best to protect Plusle, and Solana was trying her best to capture Deoxys with her device, but she kept missing, as Deoxys changed into its speed form to quickly dodge all of Solana's capture attempts. Ash then had Sceptile use a Bullet Seed on Deoxys, but Deoxys was easily able to dodge, and it also continued to dodge Solana's attempts to capture it as well. Ash then told his Swallow to keep up with Deoxys, since Swallow was fast as well, and eventually told Swallow to use Aerial Ace once Swallow had caught up to Deoxys, and Deoxys had turned to face Swallow, being kind of startled by it. So Swallow uses Aerial Ace, actually hitting Deoxys, but it didn't do much damage, so Swallow tried to follow up with a quick attack, but Deoxys dodged. The only reason why the Aerial Ace hit was because it was such a fast move in general, but now Deoxys was prepared and was able to dodge several more Aerial Ace. Brock and May then panic, seeing that Deoxys is speeding towards Swallow, trying to strike it, but since Swallow attempted to use Aerial Ace to dodge by flying out of the way, but Deoxys was too fast and managed to hit Swallow, sending it plummeting to the ground, throwing up some dust in the process. Suddenly, the meteorite, which had been gaining more power, emitted more of its power, which in turn caused the wind to get stronger, as Solana came to the conclusion that the atmospheric pressure must have dropped some more. The Sceptile was continuing to attack Deoxys, even while Ash, May, and Team Rocket were hiding behind some rocks, trying to get out of the wind, and the meteorite was only unleashing more power. Help, and Team Rocket were literally huddling together, and May and Ash could barely open their eyes, but Ash still ordered Sceptile to use a solar beam, although Deoxys dodged. Deoxys was getting tired from all this dodging though, and it was writhing in pain some more, so it wanted to try and potentially escape back to its other dimension, but when it opened up the portal, all that happened was Max and Meowth now becoming visible to the rest of the gang of Team Rocket, and they called out for them, wanting them back. But before anything could be done with this, the meteorite then exploded once again, having so much energy, essentially starting a chain reaction, causing a whole bunch of disasters and harming nearby wild Pokemon. As the explosion stretched out that far, some Shroomish were hurt in particular, but they'd be okay. Deoxys was in so much pain by this point that it started to fly around in the wind, as Action Gang, Nurse Joy, and Solana were forced to only observe. Deoxys was also in so much pain that it couldn't even focus on letting Max and Meowth out of the portal. And while it continued to fly around in the wind, it continually changed forms, now losing its ability to control what form it changed into in the first place, getting hurt from the excess energy it was experiencing. Deoxys eventually uncontrollably switches to normal form, leading Solana to attempt to capture it using her device, but despite the pain that Deoxys was feeling, Deoxys was still able to fly out of the way and dodge the capture device. The meteorite continued to release its excess energy by exploding, while Meowth and Max impatiently bounced on the strange objects in Deoxys' dimension, unable to escape, frustrated. Eventually, though, May and Team Rocket, who were desperate to get back Max and Meowth, ran to the portal, and May and Jessie forcibly pulled out Max and Meowth from Deoxys' dimension themselves, and then hugged their respective teammates after. While Meowth and Max were practically crying, relieved to see Jessie and May, respectively. Deoxys was now in so much pain that Sceptile noticed it would be unable to fly away and dodge any incoming attacks, so Sceptile tried to hit Deoxys with another Bullet Seed, but much to Sceptile's surprise, Deoxys dodged, speeding away. So Sceptile jumped onto Deoxys and prevented it from moving as it fired a solar beam directly onto its back, sending it down to the ground as Ash congratulated Sceptile on the job well done. And just then, Deoxys changes into its normal form, allowing Solana to make another capture attempt, and this time, Solana actually successfully captures Deoxys, and it was registered on her device, and she then had it use Recover to heal itself, pleasing Ash and the gang, Solana, and Team Rocket, and obviously, Deoxys himself. Just then, though, this happy recovery was interrupted by the meteorite exploding as it unleashed even more energy, to the point where the energy threatened to destroy the entire goddamn area fully, but Deoxys stepped in front of the explosion wave and used a safeguard to protect Ash and the gang, Solana, Team Rocket, and Nurse Joy, and stop the explosion from spreading out everywhere, which relieved Ash and the gang and Team Rocket and Solana and Nurse Joy, as they all thought they were goners. To make matters even better, Ash and the gang, Nurse Joy, and Solana noticed that since Deoxys was now no longer injured and all recovered, the geomagnetic disturbance was entirely stopped, according to Solana's device. And we then see a shot of all the clouds and wind subsiding, and the air pressure turning to normal, and all the wild Pokemon that were being affected now safe. Deoxys observed everyone happy in front of it, and possessed Meowth once again, lifting him up into the air, as he said, using Meowth, that he wanted to explore the planet more, and thanked Max for being the friend that he always wanted when he arrived on Earth. Max teared up, honored to be Deoxys' friend. Even though it hated being in the portal, at the end there, it knew that it was just because Deoxys was in pain and, it was desperate for help and stuff. With that, Max then waves goodbye to Deoxys as it unpossesses Meowth and takes off, flying away into the distance to explore the world, just as it said. When it goes, though, it makes an aurora, which everyone watched when Ash pointed it out, finding it extremely beautiful. Yeah, that's right. Team Rocket maintained the truce with Ash and the gang, Nurse Joy and Solana, for the entire goddamn episode. When's the last time that happened? Holy fuck. The episode then ends with one last shot of Ash and the gang, Solana, Nurse Joy, and Team Rocket observing the beautiful aurora, and Solana reporting in to Ranger Base, saying that she completed the task that she was assigned. She had healed Deoxys.